Hi guys, you might remember seeing this in one of my previous videos. It's what do you call it, a digger or I don't know, whatever. When I got it, it's one of those ones that has about 5 channels I think on the controller, because it's forwards, backwards on here, steering, and then we got the lifting mechanism for the what do you call that bit? Plastic wheels, hard plastic wheels. Anyway, I did find a controller that does actually control it. Initially I couldn't find one out of my stock of controllers, but the one I have for my RC Robot Wars Shunt has the same number of controls on it. It has forwards, backwards, left, right, and on Shunt it's got a hammer thing or a spiky thing that you're supposed to hit things with, which would be the same thing as would control the up down on here. Anyway, regardless of all that, what I did find was there is a gear missing down here underneath this gearbox. So even if I got the controller working, it still wouldn't run forwards and backwards because there's nothing to make the connection between the gearbox and the axle. So I'm going to have another look now and just see if it's anything I can possibly 3D print. I'm not sure if, well, we'll have a look. I'll take it apart and have a look. Yes, this is the problem, and I don't know how we get around it. There's something missing here, because that's the gear that sticks out the bottom of the gearbox, but it doesn't meet up with that. There's something missing, and now I've taken it apart again I realise why I gave up on the idea, because I can't imagine what it is that's missing. Yeah. I mean, these, if I just turn that, that's a differential gearbox. So we can turn this side, and we can turn this side, and then there should be something in the middle. Little, they are actually angled gears, so yeah, there should be something in the middle there that links to them, that then links onto that thing. Planetary gear system, but whatever I do, it'll be a complete guess. Yeah, I might have to abandon this again. I'll have a think. Yeah, I think we're going to be totally out of luck here. For a start, to get this central bit out, we need to get the wheels off, because it looks like that's a centre shaft that somehow or other let's reposition the camera. Right, that one turns. Yeah, I think we've got that centre piece there, that sort of square shaped piece. I think that's what remains of the gear that used to be there. And that was moulded straight onto the plastic central axle that goes through the insides of these axles and must be screwed in the outside or something, either screwed or... I mean, there's no obvious screws on here. I don't know whether that will come off. Oh, that did sort of move. Don't know if that will come off or not, or whether that's... No, it doesn't want to come off. I think that piece there is moulded straight onto the end of the shaft that's on. There's probably some sort of ridges or bevels or knurling effect that holds it on. I expect I could try brute force and try and pull it apart, but either way I think the gear was actually directly moulded onto there. I don't know, I'm looking at it, no, that looks like that might be a slot for, if the gear comes from this side and goes that way, it could slot onto it. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, so I think that gear looks something like this sketch that I've done here. So you've got the main gear, and then set into it you've got these two, I don't know what we call them, beveled gears. And those beveled gears are the ones that would link up with that and that. So as this goes around, those beveled gears link up with them, and it's differential so that if one wheel isn't turning, the other one can still turn. So end on it looks something like that. That's the teeth of that gear, and then you've got this bevel effect, bevel gears that must be pivoted, or you must have a spindle on them of some sort that allows them to turn in the middle there. Got a shadow, haven't we? Yeah. But it would be absolute guesswork trying to guess how it fits together. I mean, looking at that now, I do think those possibly go into those slots that we can see there, and then there'll be some sort of a square section there in the middle of the gear, so it slots over there. But unless I can actually get these apart, there's no way of replacing that. Well, brute force wins the day again. So that goes in there, and that hexagonal bit there actually matches the inside of that wheel just there. That was the bit that was on that bit of knurling there, and it wasn't too hard to pull off. That was a fairly gentle pull. And then we got this piece, which is the bit we were looking for. I'm trying to work out whether that's broken. Yeah, I think it is broken. Now I'm looking at it, I have no idea if that's in focus. But that's the centre of the gear that is broken. Well, that's food for thought, isn't it? Can we do anything with that? If I hold the gearbox back in place and position the camera so you might be able to see what I'm trying to do. If I measure in, That's given me 15 millimeters. If I take this edge to be the center line of the gears of the axle, which I think it is, then that tells us the gear that's missing is probably 30 millimeters in diameter. So I might just see if I can make up a 30 millimeter diameter gear as a test piece, just to sit in the middle, and then if that works, then we consider whether we can make the bevel gears to match it. This is a little bit more than I'm capable of, but we'll give it a go. This is going to be a long project. Hi guys, having another look at this radio controlled scraper. I didn't know what to call it before, but I have noticed it's got scraper written on it in several places, so we will call it a scraper. In a previous video I showed you it was missing a vital gear that goes in the middle here, so I'm trying to 3D print one. So this is my first attempt. No attempt to do the whole thing, I just want to get the size right, because I've got nothing to reference at the moment. I haven't got the original gear, it's missing. So I measured the depth from the axle to the gearbox actually in the truck here, and it was 15 millimeters, so I reasoned it would be a 30 millimeter diameter gear. No idea how many teeth it should have. This one just happens to have 40 teeth, because that's what the file was that I'd already got. I just sized it to fit. I think it should have a ridge sticking out both sides, but that makes it difficult to print, so I've only printed the ridge on one side. So if we take this one off, that's the center of the broken gear, which goes there. But we also need to have a couple of bevel gears set into this at right angles to match up with these bevel gears. So all we're doing at the moment is seeing if that fits the general dimensions. No, I think that one goes that way round. No, I was right the first time. That way. No. That one sits on there. And then if we bring the whole unit over and just sit that in there, can we see it? Yes, we can see it. So that one should line up with the gear that's in the gearbox inside. So if I turn that, we can hear the gear train and the motor moving inside. So I think we've got the right size. Now, one option would be to forget about trying to get the bevel gears in there and just 3D print the complete axle, this bit, all as a fixed axle without the bevel in there. So if I can't work out how to print the bevel gears inside this one, then that would be option 2, would be to just make this into a a fixed gear. In fact, if I printed suitable teeth on the side of it just to latch up or mesh up there, we could do that. It would just be a fixed gear rather than a differential, and that would get it running. But we'll see if we can work out how to get these bevel gears in there. So that's an update for now, and we'll look at what we can do next with trying to print some bevel gears. This has to have holes in it so the bevel gears go in it at right angles. So that's probably why the old one broke, because it's probably too much going on in a bit of plastic. Let's see. Just a very, very short update. Probably won't even have seen the videos yet, but I'm working on this scraper, I believe it's called, because that's what's written on it. It's missing some gears, so I'm trying to print some. The only problem is I don't have the originals to go from. They're missing entirely. So I've worked out it's a planetary gear system. That gear was just to get the right size, and then all of these are me trying to work out what the intermediate planetary gears are, or whatever they're called. So this is the version where I've printed them. They should fit inside there, and then that fits in over there. But that will be in a different video. Right, it looks to me like I'm on the right track. That's what's supposed to happen. The gears are slipping a little bit because those ones that are in there aren't quite the right size. But that's turning them, and if I hold one still, yeah, it's slipping over entirely now. What we should get is the other one turning. Yeah, and so it's clicking a bit because the gears aren't quite right. We've got that one turning and this one not, because I'm holding it still. And if I hold that one still, then we get the other one turning. So now all I've got to do is get those planetary gears, or whatever they're called, the right size, and we might actually get it working. Having said that, while I've been taking this apart and looking at it, there are actually some teeth worn down on this one. Just there, they're well worn down. So yeah, progress, but still work to do. As I did say, if I wanted to, I could just make those fixed and then we could just drive it as an ordinary drive shaft without the differential. Worst case scenario. But we're partly there. So progress. Hi guys, you won't have noticed because of the way I schedule my videos well in advance, but I haven't put a video up for 2 days now because I've been working on trying to sort out the gearbox for this scraper thing, as it's got written on it. I'd have called it a digger, but apparently it's a scraper. does actually say power scraper on the top there. Anyway, as you can probably see, I've been doing quite a few bits of 3D printing. Each 3D print takes nearly 3 hours, 2 hours and a bit, because of the detail on it. And I haven't quite got it right yet. I'm close. Can we see that? Yeah, we can just about see that. The orange bits are bits that are missing entirely from the little truck or scraper when I bought it in a charity shop. There was absolutely nothing there, so I'm having to guess what's missing. It's pretty clear it's a differential gearbox. I think they're called planetary gears or something. The idea is both wheels turn, or one can turn without the other. Now you might be able to hear it clicking a bit. Still haven't quite got it right, despite all these different variations that I've been doing. So it's working completely from scratch. And I'm not quite there, but in one of the earlier videos I did say if it didn't work I could actually print a fixed axle. So instead of having a differential, we could have a fixed one. That's taken me 2 attempts so far. That was the first attempt. This is the second one that I've just literally taken off the printer. So I've got a solid axle instead of 2 stub axles there that goes right the way through. Hexagonal on the end, because that will go on there and link up. I haven't actually cleaned off the excess yet. And then I put a little key on there so that can slide on, and it's a little bit tight at the moment, it needs to be cleaned out. That will slide on there and stay on that link there. What I have realised is I probably need to put a couple of spacers in there as well to stop it sliding side to side, because normally those gears would hold it in place. So that's going to go on there like that. Just do it quickly for now so we get a rough idea. It's got to go on there, but I haven't cleaned it yet, so it's a bit too tight. That's going to go on there, because that one goes in the middle. And that will give us straightforward drive, it's just not differential. So both wheels move at the same time, so when it goes round corners it'll skid. So I'll clean that up, see if we can get it together and at least get something running. And then I'll carry on with that. Need to file off all the rough edges from the printing. I think this gear might just be a tiny bit too small. Might have to print it again just a little bit bigger, because when I put this on and just turn the wheels, I can hear it clicking. There's a bit more slack in there than me holding it in place. So I think, although we're nearly there, we're not quite there. It needs to be a tiny bit bigger. Maybe even just sort of 0.5 millimetre, maybe 1 millimetre in total diameter. So, because if I hold it there, that's fine. But if I don't hold it there, and it's allowed to slop around a bit, it's actually coming out of alignment. Right, not trying to pretend this is the finished article, because this is the fixed rear axle rather than the differential rear axle, but it does mean we can actually go forwards and backwards. And I still think that gear is a little bit small, so it might start clicking. So we do have forwards, backwards, left and right, and we can lift and drop. Oh, the battery I've got in there is pretty low as well. I wanted to make sure I didn't overpower it, and that might protect the gears a bit. Well, that lifting the bucket isn't very strong. It can't even lift the front of the camera. That's a bit disappointing. Lack of power there. Just thought I'd show you the controller I'm using. This is the one from the Robot Wars Shunt that I've got. I'll put a link in the video description if I remember, so you can see it. It just happens to have all the controls, although they're not in the right place. The bucket going up and down is that one. There are a lot of bits broken on that, well, missing, quite a few linkages, but it is still working. So we can at least see what it should do. And then the left and right is this one. And if I push it too far, then it does make horrible clicking noises. But yeah, we have steering, and then forwards and backwards are these two buttons. forwards, backwards. So yeah, it works. I'll still do a bit more work, see if I can get the differential gearing working, because that's just interesting me. It's not important because, as you can see, we can go forwards and backwards anyway. It's also not very important because now I can see how underpowered it is. I mean, that lift couldn't even tilt the front of the camera. Although, as I did say, I am running it on low power. It should have a nickel metal hydride battery pack in there, 4.8 volts, and I've got a 2S lithium ion battery in there, which is, oh, hang on, no, I'm overrunning it, aren't I? I've got a 2S in there. I'm running it on 7.4 volts. Oh, in that case, that's why it's spinning the back wheels when when we do that. I was thinking I was underpowering it, but the battery is low. It was only on about 75%, so hopefully it won't be putting too much current through. But as I say, still disappointing that the bucket motor is so weak. Yeah, it's not easy to remember the controls when they're all mixed up like that. That'll do. I'll do another video if I do actually fix that differential, but I'm a little bit disappointed with the lack of power anyway. Hi guys, just going to give the scraper a run out on the grass. It's still got the fixed rear axle rather than the differential, because I haven't fixed the differential yet. Still working on that. So it's a straight through back axle, so both wheels turn at the same rate. There's no differential. I just thought I'd give it a run on the grass so we got something to look at, and maybe have a look when I have fixed the differential, see if there's any difference. Because I don't think we'll actually see any difference. It'll just be one of those personal success or failures if I actually get it working with a differential. So if you didn't see the previous video, this is the controller from the Robot Wars Shunt that I've got. One of those robot things that hits things. And all the controls are completely wrong for this, but it does have enough controls to do it. So this one, instead of being forwards and backwards, is actually the shovel up and down. This one is right and left. And these two here are forwards and backwards. And you'll hear the horrible rattling noise because the gears are not quite right. But I just thought we'd give it a run so we can see it. Because I want to test the range, because I've charged up the battery in it. So it should give us a slightly better range than it was giving us before when I was testing it. Yeah, it's definitely the range, isn't it? Oh, it doesn't like that gear, does it? Right, that way. Oh, that gear is really struggling now, isn't it? And those gears have got, those tyres have got no grip. They're hard plastic. Didn't quite make it that way. Tell you what, this is very difficult trying to work out the steering. It's very slow steering as well. I think we'll call it a day. It's struggling. In the previous video I was saying I think that rear gear that I've put in there is just a tiny bit too small, which is why it's slipping under load. But yeah, there you go. Let's get a thumbnail shot. There we go. Out in the garden. Just in case you haven't watched the previous video, I'll just take this apart and show you what I'm talking about. That's what we should have in there. Differential gear, or that's part of it. Or that bit that fell on the floor is just part of it. So that's the main gear, and then that little planetary gear is the one that actually drives the gears, well, those gears actually, that drive the motors. Those hexagonal bits fit into the hubs of the motors, tyres, wheels. Come on, Grandad. It's been a long day. Words are getting confusing. I've been working on this gearbox for 3 or 4 days now, on and off. Spent all day yesterday on it. Still not finished it. Right, take that off without losing the screws. Right, this is the temporary fixed axle. This is what it should be. It should be that. Oh, hang on. That on there, that on there. And let's just choose one of these, for example. Tight fit. There we go. That goes on there. That goes on there. And then the idea, although those are out of line, as the middle one turns, it turns these two via those planetary gears, as I'm calling them. So that's what we should have. The motor and gearbox that's inside the scraper, as it's called, will be turning this one. And those planetary gears should be turning these ones. But I haven't got the dimensions right yet, so it just isn't quite working. But I just thought I'd give you a little update and demonstrate it driving outside. Need to make that one just a bit bigger because obviously it was slipping. Which means this one will have to be a bit bigger because that is a copy of this one without the extra bits on it. So still a way to go before we get this working. Hi guys, still looking at this differential gearbox for the radio controlled scraper or digger or whatever you want to call it. Those two are for the fixed rear axle, not the differential. I've just tried making them slightly bigger than the one I did, because it seemed to be a little bit loose in there, diameter wise I'm talking. So that one's 1mm bigger diameter, and that one's 2mm bigger diameter. So I'll try them later, but I thought we'd have a look at this differential gearbox that I've been working on. Just a reminder, it was entirely missing from the toy when I bought it. It just wasn't there. Obviously it had broken at some time and somebody had taken it apart and thrown away the bits. So there was nothing. Well, I say nothing. That was all that was there. And I could work out from that that we'd got something could slide in that way, which I'm taking to be these planetary gears, as I called them. I tried moulding them all in one piece and that wasn't working for me, so now I'm moulding a central pin and separate planetary gears. Then that slot in there is that slot there. So these will fit in like that. And then spacers for either side. That spacer goes on there and should actually hold the pins in place to stop them slopping about. So we'll see if we can get this one apart and give it a try. Now this particular PLA that I've been using seems to be more rigid than the stuff I was using, which is probably good for gears. Makes them a little bit stiffer. Still deformed slightly. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but it's fairly straight here and a little bit wrinkly at that end. So it's possibly printed too hot and settling down a little bit while it's sitting on the bed. I've been printing the latest ones on a raft to try and reduce that problem, but yeah, probably ought to get the microscope on there to show the detail. Might do that, but we'll just have a look, see if we can actually get them off the raft. That one sits in there all right. I have to file the edges off it a bit. It's funny how sometimes they pop off beautifully and other times they're a pain. Okay, off all right. Not too bad. Yeah, again, those are quite deformed. I'll get my little microscope out and have a look at them just so we can see them. Right, looking at the gear under the microscope. Where's my tweezers? Top edge doesn't look too bad. If I turn it over, I think we really want to look along the edge of it. Yeah, we can see the curve in the edge of the teeth. Just that focus of it. What I'm really trying to say is they're not nice and sharp. They're deformed. How about this one? Well, I don't know if the microscope was very helpful there. It was too fine an adjustment. So we're just looking at it with the camera on its macro mode instead. Yeah, they're just not the shape I really want them to be. That'll do. These little pins are probably the ones that are the worst deformed in the printing. The heads are pretty bad. So we'll put it together. That should slide into there, and it doesn't. It does from that side, so that means we've got a bit of a ridge in there, again from the printing deforming. Yeah, it goes almost all the way through, and then there's a little ridge at the bottom where it seems to have puddled, I think is the best way I can describe it. Yeah, good fit from that side, won't go all the way through. Right, I'll clean them out. Okay, that's cleaned it out, just a little needle file. Is that going to fit in there? I've got to trim that. No, I'll have to trim that as well, I think. Look at that one. Right, well that one's okay. Ish. That one I'm going to have to trim a little bit, that's just too far deformed. Right, trim that one a little bit. Okay, so that's in. And out again. And that one sits on top to hold them in place. It would if that one was on the way home. You might have to trim them a little bit on the side. Make sure that fits. Okay, let's have a look, see if they're going to fit on the axle. Might have to trim them a bit to get them in there. I like that one. I think that is about right, because the knurling's just that little bit thicker than the main axle. Yeah, that'll be alright once I've run that through a little bit. It's the same problem, it fits in that way but doesn't fit in that way because there's a little ridge formed by the filament pooling. That's the word I'm going to use, pooling. It's sagging at the bottom. I think that one's probably the same. Yeah, it goes in that side, doesn't go in that side. In, not in. Let's just pop them out again for a minute. Nearly. Just very gently. Yeah, wrong way now. That one's okay. Try and get that little ridge off. I think that'll go with a bit of a push, which we won't give it just yet. Right, because having done all that, there's still no guarantee that's going to fit where I want it. Looks like that doesn't need that spacer now. You can see what I mean about the shape of the teeth. These are nice pointy teeth on the moulded gear. And I've got rounded teeth. Yeah, I'm going to have to mould them again, try and get a better point on them. And the angle's not right either. In fact, that feels like a worse fit than the earlier ones. Well, I've lost count of how many revisions I've done, but this one does appear to be a lot closer to the right fitting. I'm holding the central gear still, so the planetary gears, or whatever they're called, turning this one that way makes that one turn that way. It's a little bit clicky in there, and if I turn that one rather than this one, it clicks more because that one's got some teeth worn down on it anyway, which tends to make it sound worse. But we got the general idea. I don't know if it's worth putting that into the vehicle and seeing if it actually runs. I've actually lost track of the middle gears. I printed off some different sized ones. I don't know if you can see them on there. And I can't remember whether that's one of the ones that I printed off slightly bigger or not. I've just done so many. I should have thrown away the old ones each time I did a new one, but I've kept them just so I can see how many I've done. I think I might try screwing it in place and just see what happens. Right, it is a bit clicky. If I hold one still, so we do have a working differential. I'm not going to pretend that that's perfect, but from where we started, that's significantly better. Like we had no drive originally. Yeah, a bit noisy, not perfect, but significantly better than it was. We'll give it a little run. I've even put the camera on the back of it. So, that's left, that's right. If you haven't seen the previous videos, this is not the right controller, but it happens to have all the functions. This one's the bucket up and down, and then forwards and backwards are these two. Forwards, backwards. So forwards and right would be that one and this one back. Yeah. I think we're a bit low on range. It starts doing that shuddering as soon as it gets a few feet away. But that's probably not a fair test of anything. See, when it gets closer it stops that shuddering. Just wondering how tight a circle it turns. I don't think it'll be tight enough to do a circle in here. That's full lock, which is why it starts clicking like that. It's pretty close to a full circle. You can probably see I'm having to hold the transmitter right up as far as I can to keep in range. But that seems to be working. It's actually, well, in my opinion, getting quieter. Those gears may be wearing in a bit. So yeah, we appear to have a working scraper with a 3D printed differential gear setup made from scratch. do. After I fitted the gears in there yesterday, and it all sort of works, it's a little bit clicky, it's not perfect, but there are some worn teeth on the existing bits. That's my excuse. Anyway, I then thought, why don't I just make a battery cover, because it's missing one. That should be easy. Yeah, alright, so we're attempt number 4, and I think I've just about got it right now. Doing that little clippy bit was quite interesting. That's in there. I haven't put a screw in there. I've probably got one somewhere, but we'll see if it just holds in there with the little clippy bit. We'll give it a little run. Got the camera on the back, peering through the cab. So, lift that. Forwards. Straight into the back of the camera. This steering really is not easy. I have to have a look at the aerial in there, because this is crazy. I've got to be right this close for it to keep a continuous signal. Yeah, well, it seems to work. There's lots of broken bits and missing bits. That bit's broken just there. I'm pretty sure there should be something going across there, maybe. And I think there should be something going across there. I'm missing some rails around the back. So we could spend ages on this, doing little bits and pieces. But I need to fix that. There must be a problem with the aerial in there, because we're really not getting any distance. I'm literally having to hold it within a couple of feet, because I could make it hobby grade. I don't really want to do that, because it's just not working well enough to justify spending money on it. But I might have to do that just so we get the range. Three ESCs would do it. One for the drive, one for the steering, and one for the uppy downy bit, the bucket. Got the camera on the back, peering through the cab. So, lift that. Forwards. Straight into the back of the camera. This steering really is not easy. Have a look at the aerial in there, because this is crazy. I've got to be right this close for it to keep a continuous signal. seems to work. There's lots of broken bits and missing bits. That bit's broken just there. I'm pretty sure there should be something going across there, maybe. And I think there should be something going across there. I'm missing some rails around the back. So you could spend ages on this, doing little bits and pieces. But I need to fix that. There must be a problem with the aerial in there, because we're really not getting any distance. I'm literally having to hold it within a couple of feet, because I could make it hobby grade. I don't really want to do that, because it's just not working well enough to justify spending money on it. But I might have to do that just so we get the range. Three ESCs would do it. One for the drive, one for the steering, and one for the uppy downy bit, the bucket.
Thanks for watching. You'll find more information down in the video description. You might like to watch that video up there, and you might like to subscribe over there.